Hi friends, I'm going to do a few more photos. I don't know about you, but when my mother died, although she'd been helped to label some photos, there were also the biscuit tins full of photos with people you don't remember or didn't know the names of, or quite like I've got photographs of my great grandparents, but I don't remember their names, or so I'm just documenting. Both for family reasons and for the naysayers. So, and just sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's good to get over the heavy stuff. There's lots of heavy stuff I should be reporting on, but for now, this is what I'm going to do. This was another University of Warwick production. I played Jocasta in Oedipus Rex. And Oedipus was one of my lecturers. There's another one from that production, and that's Kerry. I may have shown this in the last lot. Some of these look familiar. I thought I'd only shown one album. Yeah, I think I might have shown these two. That was Snoo Wilson, The Pleasure Principle. Yeah, this, I think this is an album. There's one photo I'm looking for as well, which is from the boat ride on the Thames. Which was part of the prize of being top finalist in Young Journalist of the Year for Cosmopolitan magazine. Part of the prize was to get an article published and then to meet all the staff. And the big excitement was Paula Yates' husband, Bob Geldof, was there. And I've talked about that in previous videos. He was pretty miserable and there was clearly tension between them. And since the research I've done, that wasn't a great thing. Anyway, there's my graduation from the University of Warwick with my lovely 80s crimped hair. That was 81. Bit difficult, more difficult to show them in shiny mode. This was modeling in the 70s with a friend, Jill Dowell, who settled in Australia. She was my best friend for quite a while. And I get twitchy. It makes me dissociate a bit going through photographs because they flip back and forth the decades, because I'm 64, and then there's so many memories compartmentalized. It's a bit disturbing because this was Bath Convent, La Santa Union Convent in Bath, which sadly I believe was very much colluding with the intelligence services to suggest students for various projects under the umbrella of MK Ultra, but that was La Santa Union Convent. That's me obviously there. There's Finula, Ursula and Angela. I think those are my three friends there. We don't need to go through all of these. More acting. This was one of my favorites, so it's glued down, but I'll show you. Hobson's Choice. I played Maggie. That's very hard to see. Maggie in Hobson's Choice. And then there's just more chorus girls in pantomimes. There's Gillian as well, I think. It's good fun. Very much programmed I was for acting and going to Hollywood, but the beautiful interruption that is my daughter saved me from that. I wasn't equipped emotionally. I think I would have died young. These are just France on a school exchange where I got molested, abused by a family member of where I stayed. He's my only abuser to my knowledge, well, other than my father, who's 95 and deemed unfit to interview because of dementia. That's what Wiltshire police said after 6 months investigation, but I don't really buy that as an excuse, because how would Rolf Harris, all aged paedophiles would be immediately discharged from prison if dementia or pretend dementia was regarded as an excuse, not to question them. But so I think the French abuser is possibly the only one of my abusers still alive, because I'm 64 and I was a child. and I have reported it to Wiltshire, even Somerset Police, and they reported it to Interpol, but I've never been, and my abuser in France has gone on to be a very wealthy supermarket chain owner in the Bordeaux area. But although I've reported to the police, 2 police forces, and they said they reported it to Interpol, I've never been contacted about it. Here's another German. They always kept trying to marry me off to a German. They gave me accidentally a German birth cert, made sure I learned fluent German, gave me a German godmother whose husband was also one of my abusers, rapists. But again, I dodged the bullet. This is when I sometimes refer to myself as the reluctant monarch. So this is Dieter, but it's a tiny photo and I can't be bothered to pull it out. That's a wedding. This was me, Bradford-on-Avon, having fun. Let me see if we can get the glare off that. There you go. Partying. I did love Bradford-on-Avon. That was the closest thing to a base, because they moved us every 3 years minimum or more. I lived in 49 homes, 7 countries, 3 continents. And I do believe that's part of, in the early days of training MK Ultra assets, is you keep them, what's the proper word, like no roots. So children of the military were ideal, especially children that moved with the military postings. You don't allow them to develop close friendships. You keep them permanently kind of off balance. It aids the trauma-based mind control. No, I won't brag on that one. Here's another one. And now I do believe this was an operation. I didn't know I still had this one. Right, this at the top. Oh my goodness, I hope I didn't get in trouble for showing it. Right, quick flash there. His nickname was Chico, and he was a Portuguese. I just thought, you know, a macho, handsome man that I met on my travels. But with hindsight, I absolutely believe I was still being manipulated around the place. I wasn't really on my healing journey there. I'd lived in Marbella in 1982, and I travelled to Portugal at that time to visit, get this, a 25-year Royal Air Force veteran and his partner, who was a friend of my sister from Cheltenham. This was just when the Falklands War broke out, I believe, that visit. But I just happened to link up on a 3-week visit with this Portuguese guy who turned out to be the biggest drug dealer in that part of Europe and nearly killed me. He showed me, boasting, showed me, we were on a little island which was only accessible by boat. It had no roads, no electricity, just a bar. And that was it, really, a bar and lots of fishing boats. And it was mainly Portuguese that holidayed there. So it was an ideal drug storage place. And my friend that was with the ex-RAF, the RAF veteran, he had bought a yacht, and they were living on the yacht and traveling around, and they docked there for the summer. So that was how I ended up visiting. I think my older sister was there visiting as well, and my niece. But Chico took me to show me silly, you know, boys. I think Kay Griggs talks about this, about her husband always would show off and tell her secrets that he shouldn't have. And the same with my father. You know, he would come and tell us all these SAS modes of assassination without a trace, just to show off, or else hurt us in ways that didn't leave a mark. And that was one of his trademark sayings. You know, I'll kill you and I won't leave a mark on you, or I know exactly where to hurt you and not leave a mark, or that kind of thing. So Chico took me after, you know, we'd been sort of courting and flirting and carrying on for a couple of weeks, to one of the houses on the island. And it was filled from floor to ceiling, I think 2 floors in every room, with sacks and sacks of drugs. I think, see, I'm not a drug, I'm a bit naive, but I think it was, I don't know, marijuana, weed. I mean, it wasn't plants. It was amazing. And I just was like, I was just bemused that he was trying to impress me by showing me a house packed full of drugs and saying, I'm the source, I'm the, I don't know what, head gringo, I don't know what you'd call. I don't speak, I only spoke a tiny bit of Portuguese, hardly any at all. I don't know how we communicated really. But the next night, he nearly strangled me to death. And he was saying, who are you? Who are you? I pretty quickly understood enough to grasp what he was saying. He thought I was an FBI or similar Interpol plant sent to find out who was the new European distributor of this particular drug, because the previous kingpin had been busted somewhere around Tangier, you know, Algeciras, I don't know, but busted. And this Portuguese guy had inherited the European territory. And so when he showed it to me, I acted non, like, oh, lovely. So, you know, and back in my mind, I'm like, note to self, you know, might be time to go back to Marbella. But he nearly strangled me to death the night, I think it was the next night, saying, who are you? Who are you? Who sent you? Who sent you? I know you're not just on holiday. I know you're not just visiting. And I managed to, because I, possibly under mind control at the time, I was able to convince him utterly that I didn't know what he was talking about. I had no interest in the fact that he was a massive drug dealer. I didn't say it. In actual fact, it puts me off being here and I want to go as quickly as possible. But I managed to convince him because I believed I was there accidentally. It's only with hindsight I can say there's a few things that aren't coincidences. This is my first wedding. You can see I think I'm 8 months pregnant at City Hall in San Francisco. And I won't say my ex-husband's name, my first ex-husband's name, because he did a very kind thing. And I have no reason to say his name, although it was another elitist name. Yeah, I wonder if this one will come out. This was a bit lovely. I titled my second nuptials, Nice Wedding, Shame About the Groom. God forgive me. But this was the wedding to the Disney one. I arrived side saddle at the chapel with the bridesmaids and my father on a horse-drawn carriage. But that's my mare blue that I had. That I'm looking. It's the back of me side saddle, but that was my old grey mare that I had for 32 years. Rode her side saddle to church. These are my 3 beautiful, beloved children. I've got 2 more in heaven. Gabriella, Josh, and Jamie. In a Christian school, it was a church school with about 16 pupils, all following the accelerated Christian education. It's a homeschooling tool, but the church sort of ran a cooperative mini school where that system was used. Sadly, as always seems to be the case, where I seem to be strategically placed, turned out the pastor was corrupt. And it took me 15 years to expose that. God forgive me. I'm a bit more on the ball these days. There's some more of those. Of course, the quality's not great in some of these. See if there's anything more relevant. I don't know if there's that. See, some of these I don't even. Oh yeah. Now this was a missed opportunity, but I guess it would have kept me in a marriage that I wasn't really committed to. But this was a beautiful property. I can't seem to pull it out, but I'll show you. In Suffolk, my Disney husband and I were trying to buy that to open a children's home, because my ex-husband was a volunteer prison visitor. I was in prison ministry as well, and we both visited a children's home about 2 miles from there called Four Elms in Stonham Parva, and we were very concerned at that place, and rightly so, because it went on to be shut down after the parents of a child that had been kept there and abused there murdered the 2 people that were running it. There had been alleged suicides and mysterious deaths there. We were only allowed to visit once a week there, but we were allowed to bring some of the children out to church. And there was one particularly lovely, I'd love to track this boy down, and we used to call him Little Stephen because we had a big Stephen as well, who was not from the children's home, but was a regular sitting around the table having Sunday lunch with us. He was the son of a bare knuckle fighter from Tottenham. I can't remember, Tottenham Billy or something like that. I can't remember the name. But little Stephen used to beg us to adopt him. Now, but he would never ever disclose why. He just every Sunday where we'd bring him to church with some of the others and then drop the others back, but he was allowed to have Sunday lunch with us, and they took a chance because he could have disclosed. But he must have been so terrorized, he never did. He just begged us every Sunday, please adopt me, please adopt me, please adopt me. And we would say, is there something happening? We might be able to help. You know, my husband's prison visitor, and so on and so forth. But he never ever would disclose, but just terrified. So little Stephen, that would have been around 1990. I didn't get married till 93, so I can't remember. I was seeing the Disney one for a year in 90 and then split and then got back together and married in 93. So somewhere in there. But yeah, Four Elms, Stonham Parva, Suffolk. Suffolk was an absolute hotbed. Scorpion, there were runaways and youngsters being taken in Suffolk and then put on the train to London and told they'd be met by somebody who would get them a job and somewhere to live, and they were trafficked. It was horrendous. So we didn't end up buying that place. It got sabotaged, you know, and it was a huge project to take on, but we were just thinking, what can we do? The children's home up the road seems horrific, and you know, if we hire the right staff and do the right thing, maybe we could open one that wouldn't make the residents terrified. But Stonham got its karma in the end. I don't know how many years later it was that the people running it were murdered, and there was scandals, and it was just, but pretty sad ending. Oh yeah, if I can get this out. Talked about torture rituals, and one of them, well, many of them around water. And this is my Auntie Phil by the Strand in Dungarvan, County Waterford, from where my father came. And she talked of the trauma of being held over the wall. You can see the wall there. And by her brothers, you know, threatening to drop her, and the sheer terror of that. You know, it was like a 12-foot drop when the tide was out, or maybe a 20-foot drop, I don't remember. And another auntie that displayed all sorts of signs of dissociation had been locked in a coffin. And my Irish granddad kept a coffin in the house, Shandon Lodge. And we only came on visits once every summer, you know, for 2 weeks holiday. That was really to go and see Granny and Granddad in Ireland. But whenever we asked, why is there a coffin? We would just give them some guff story about, oh, it's for a neighbour who's terrified of having a pauper's funeral. He keeps it here. No, I think it was for rituals, to be honest. Here's one of my great granny, and I don't remember. I think it's my great granny, not my granny. I'll have a look. Just lost my glasses. Yeah, oh my gosh, scary looking. Yeah, this is not my real, oh yeah, these are great grandparents, but the generations that could have told me who they are, what their names were, are dead, so sadly. My dad's still alive at 95, but I'm no contact with him. I won't show the family reunion because there's a lot of children in it, although many of them are grown now. Yeah. I'll show you this. I can't get it out of the album, but this was my Disney husband, and we were trying, well, that's myself, Mr. Disney, Gabriella, Josh, and Jamie many years ago. The album said Seamless Mended, but I just stress again because of misinformation. The Disney one was not a paedophile. He was also the son of a squadron leader in the Royal Air Force and Freemason, and my ex wasn't a Freemason, but his father was, and very dissociative, very much looking like he'd also been subjected to projects for MK Ultra. Now I'm not finding again the Cosmopolitan Party on the Thames, but oh look, here's another one of my red setters. Seems to be a theme. I've had about 3 or 4 red setters over the years. This isn't Ruby, but this is, it might be Rosie or Lara. There's Max, the German short-haired pointer. And just as I find these photos, I'll share them with you. This is Joshua's christening. Now, yeah, that's Joshua's christening. And that is David Green, who's a pastor of a church we were attending in Buxall, near Stowmarket, in Suffolk. And although he and his wife seemed like good people, but that's the village that Nicky Cooper talks about, where I think it's the Cox family were done for creating and distributing child porn and all sorts of other horrors there in that tiny little village. And I mean tiny. Somebody else praying. Yeah, we were churchgoers, but I just couldn't keep my mouth shut if I came across corruption, no matter where I came across it. Like, there's another church thing, you know, not all Christians are corrupt, but certainly the evangelical church in America was infiltrated by the CIA, and the Moonies and all sorts. This is Loch Sheen at Uncle Jerry's, who's no longer with us. Oh, my beautiful daughter. Feeding the ducks. Oh, look. This was California. This was my lovely little girl, Gabriella, in Mill Valley. I think I lived by then. Yeah, I think it's Mill Valley in Marin County. We shall continue. That's another favourite. Gabriella down at Uncle Jerry's at Loch Sheen. I wonder if I told her how dangerous swans can be. My sister Fiona and I were chased by swans on the, I think it was the River Avon or the Kennet and Avon Canal. I think it was the River Avon. We were riding ponies or horses along the riverside in confined, like you had it, whether it was a river or, yeah, it must be, it was a river in the environs of Bradford on Avon, and along the path, narrow path along the river, and it somehow you couldn't, like you'd have to deliberately come away from that, so you were shut in basically. I think you had a fence, the river and a pathway. So we were cantering along, having a nice ride on a Sunday morning or something. And we came across 2 swans and some cygnets. And the father swan saw us as a danger and chased us. I've never been so clear that I didn't want to fall off. It was not the right time to fall off my horse because I already had been told that a swan can break your arm with just a flap of its wing if it attacks you. It's a bit like geese being used as guard dogs. An angry daddy swan seeing you as a danger can do some serious damage. So I went home in absolute bits and said, I'm never riding along that canal or along that river again. Oh my God, that was scary. Let's cheer me up. Yeah, that'll do for today. I've got more to go, but I do want to find that one I'm referencing from the Cosmopolitan day trip on the Thames thing, whatever it was. But yeah, that'll do for now, and I'll continue. This is a classic as well, although I want to get this repaired. I've shown, this is my youngest and my niece's eldest at a family reunion in Dungarve in County Waterford. And it's just a classic. I need it repaired. It's travelled. Man manages to move with me as many times as I move. Gets a bit raggedy along the way, unfortunately. But not to worry. There's more things in life than memorabilia, although it's nice to have. This, I'll end with this one. This was on my Facebook that got mute. This was just one of those fun photos, my 3 children and my grandchildren a few years ago. That's waiting to go up in the kitchen. And yeah, so just enjoy your Sunday. I'll try and enjoy mine. Those are my 3 children. That was from the same photo shoot. My daughter's got Sicilian heritage, and the boys are Disney's. There you go. Right. I'm glad I refound them anyway. I'm not quite as efficient as I was in my 20s at keeping things. And I haven't ventured into the attic yet. Right, ramble over. Have a lovely day. And talk to you again soon. I might try and do some more later. God bless. Check the links.